Welcome back to the Q&A section. I'm Chen Heitong Athena. We have collected your opinions about the development of Twins Island connecting Manhattan City. So the first question is about land zoning concepts. Before detailing the land zoning concepts applied in our projects, allow us to briefly introduce the development plan again. The development will be divided into four sections, including greenery areas, utilities facilities including water treatment, drainage, sewage, and electricity facilities, residential area, and resorts. In urban planning as well as transportation planning, land use is the most important factor. There are four types of land use, including functional zoning, form-based zoning, intensity zoning, and incentive zoning. The project adopted functional zoning method for the urban development by dividing zones according to their function and land use. Form-based zoning will not be considered in our project because we focus more on the function side instead of the physical characteristics. Intensity zoning will not be considered as well because the project is a low-density populated area and elderly and visitors are our main target. Incentive zoning will not be considered because no incentive will be rewarded to our residents. To conclude, we adopted functional zoning method which can achieve the objectives of our project. Second question is about the residential development. From the last question, it is noted that the project will be divided into four sections. The residential housing area will occupy 1/5 of the area of Twins Island. Regarding the residential housing scheme, it is in fact about the new town development. The scale of the proposed residential development area will not be too large. It is expected that 2 people will live in the same flat. There will be 8 flats for each floor and 5 floors in a building. And there will be 10 buildings, so the expected population will be 800. There will also be some facilities supporting the residential area. For the government facilities, there will be a government office to help the elderly to deal with some administration staffs, such as bill payment. A hospital will also be built to serve the different stakeholders. For community facilities, there will be a community center which serves people of all ages together. The center will offer different kinds of service, such as catering and laundry. Through the provision of a wide range of group and community work activities, they will also contribute in developing the sense of belonging to the community. As introduced before, a 10-story building will be built in the center of island. As a result, there will be an increase of population and needs of the public. To establish a new town, there will be 3 major concerns. First, transportation is vital for the new town development. Before the development, most areas are poorly connected. Twins Island will require both roads and public transportation construction to improve the trip generation and trip distribution. Second, typically a new town is planned and developed around a town center, which is the town business, cultural, and traffic hub. For example, shopping mall, library, hospital, government center, etc. will be found there. Third, it is about the issue of policy of the city. The regulations and laws will be the same as that of Manhattan City. The above arrangement will be established to suit the needs of the public. Apart from the development of Twins Island, we will also evaluate the future projection. As for the change of needs and system, there will be a change of land use in the future. Therefore, we plan that all facilities will at least cater the needs of the present with 70 years of shelf life. Maintenance is also required in this development. We would like to minimize the effect brought by the change of land use. To conclude, with the supporting of government, community facilities, and policies, the residential development can be launched smoothly. Dominic will continue the section with the last two questions.
Greetings everyone, this is Chonghoye Dominic, and I'm honored to be here to finish our Q&A session. I'll continue on where Athena left off, and we find ourselves at question number 3. What do we do with the opinion we collected? How do we analyze it? And more importantly, how do we reach a compromise? Firstly, I'll begin with what we do after we've collected them. We'll sort them out and then we'll hand it to the experts. For example, something about Turtle Bay, we'll give it to the marine biologists and maybe to the environmental group representative, and then we'll see what they have to think about it after doing some research on it. And then for the more general ones, let's say the theme of the island, we'll discuss it during our weekly task force meetings. Now, what do we mean by analyze? We have different guidelines, and this is just one of them. But for example, to take these opinions and to think about how feasible it is, how much economic growth can it bring, how sustainable is it, how much demand do we have for it, and of course, where it can fit in the original budget. Now, the experts will balance these various areas, and then they'll tell us what they think of it. They'll prioritize them, and then during the weekly task force meeting, we'll discuss all these and then see what we put into the changes, into the projects. Moving on to how we get a compromise. Now, we understand that many changes, they may not immediately be accepted. So we bring it on in our public consultation forums, our public consultation exhibitions, and so on, where you can discuss it with the public and about how you think about changes. Now, what do we do after the consultation period? We'll seek out your mayors, we'll seek out your different politicians that you've elected, and we'll talk to them and see what they think of it. We'll talk to the government and see which one they want and which one they prefer more. So this is how we reach a compromise. We'll take some new innovative ideas or any suggestions that are great, and then we'll put it into the projects. After we put it in projects, we'll bring it out to the public to see it during our public forums and see what they have to think about it, and then we'll refine it some more. And this process will keep on going. After the consultation period, as much as we love to continue our dialogue, we still have different deadlines to meet so that we could provide Twins Island to you at the optimal time. So we'll consult your representatives, and hopefully this can help everyone reach a compromise and get everyone to Twins Island that they want to see. Thank you for this great question, but we'll move on now to question number 4. Question number 4 asks us that, what do we do with all the sewage that comes from the people and the activities that comes from Twins Island? Now, this is a great question, especially considering the fact that Twins Island itself is a beautiful natural reserve with tons of marine life around it. So, we'll put it simply, we gotta think about how much sewage we're dealing with here first before we can identify a solution. And our initial projections gives us around 2,000 people on the island at any given time. So we thought about the more traditional approach is that we build a sewage plant. But it comes with a few problems in the sense that it's too big, and Twins Island itself is already very tiny, and we don't want to occupy any more space than we have to because it will ruin the scenery and it will ruin how beautiful Twins Island itself is. So what we think of, what about we ship them away to Manhattan City itself? But then the ships itself cost fuel, and fuel is very expensive for so many short trips and so many repeating trips. So we also don't want to ruin the marine life nearby with a ship hovering around on them all the time. So what we have done is that we have decided to implement a more modern technology, something known as SBR, sequencing battery reactors. Now, how this works is that we'll take all that sewage and we'll put it in with some fill. Now, after the fill, they mix up, and then there's some chemicals that are going to be doing their jobs in there. Now, after the chemicals finish the job, we're going to get one layer of water that is treated and one layer of sludge. Now, what we do with that layer of water is that we take it out, and then we'll put them through more sand and then some UV filtration, where any remaining pathogens can all be cleared, and that water will be completely clean for drinking. We'll also put them through some chloride, of course, and more refinements, but basically it is perfectly fine for drinking, and that's one way we can alleviate the drinking water issue too. Now, I digress. So what do we do with the sludge? Now, the sludge itself, we'll take out a part of it. The remaining part will be used for the fill for the next round of sewage, and then we'll repeat the whole process again as seen here. But what do we do with the excess sludge that we have? We'll bring them to the drying bed, where we will dry them, and then they become something fertilizer. And these fertilizers can either be sold off or could be used locally, depending on the needs at the time. More importantly, this is the size of an SBR for 3,000 people. And considering the fact that we only have 2,000 people to serve, and this picture was taken 10 years ago, we have a much more robust technology now. I hope this answers all your questions, and we hope to see you at future public consultations, and thank you once more for coming to our presentation.